A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin wa aqibatul muttaqin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin. Amma ba'd. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh, and good afternoon to everyone. Excellencies, distinguished guests, delegates and fellow participants in this vital discourse. My name is Sheikh Sabuddin and Abdurahim, by virtue of my authority and mandate as Secretary or the Minister Al-Ihwal Islam Filipina, representing the National Commission of Muslim Filipinos, NCMF. I am honored to present on Madani Forum and Global Peace, Harmony in Diversity, especially in the context of our shared commitments for holistic global peace as part of the community of nations such as the ASEAN, the United Nations, and primordially as one Ummah. I begin in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most beneficent, the most merciful. To all of us gathered here, regardless of nationality, faith, or culture, we share a common purpose: to reflect deeply on how our diversity, far from dividing us, is a gift meant to unite us. I am deeply honored and humbled to ground our discussion in dignity, mutual respect, and the moral imperative to know one another. The universal principle. This verse from the Quran transcends its religious origin. It resonates as a diplomatic principle when people of different nations, cultures, and traditions come together. It is just for coexistence. It is for knowing one another, building bridges, sharing stories, and forging a shared future. Historical depth, the Philippine archipelago content. To appreciate our model of harmony, one must acknowledge the deep roots of governance in the Philippine archipelago. Long before colonial maps, our islands were home to organized polities. Barangays, coastal principalities, the sultanates such as those in Sulu and Maguindanao. These were not fragmented tribes, but significant political entities participating in regional trade and social organization. On the free colonial trade and diplomacy, these pre-colonial societies were deeply interconnected. They traded extensively across the seas, and their leaders formed alliances through sophisticated diplomatic practices, including sandugo, blood compacts, marriage ties, and customary agreements. This is an early example of diplomatic pluralism rooted in local traditions. Resilience under colonization. With the arrival of colonization, the archipelago underwent dramatic transformation. Yet, despite more than 300 years of Spanish rule, American administration, and even occupation during World War II, local identities and governance structures showed remarkable resilience. The institutions of the datu, the barangay, and traditional customs did not disappear. Instead, they adapted and survived. Diplomacy before modern states. Diplomacy in our islands was not a concept borrowed from modern states. It was indigenous. Datus and chiefs negotiated for trade, mutual defense, and peace. These were not proxies of foreign powers, but autonomous leaders asserting agency in their own right. It's a model of governance deeply rooted in local conviction and mutual respect. Philosophical foundations. To frame our present challenge, we draw from three powerful traditions: the Gandhi's vision of unity, Einstein's insight on adaptability, and Islam's principle that humanity is entrusted with the stewardship of the earth. Together, they form a philosophical basis. Diversity is not a weakness, but a source of moral, intellectual, and spiritual strength. The modern Philippine model, unity without uniformity. In the modern Philippine state, we have institutionalized unity without uniformity. We do not ask communities to give up their distinct identities. Instead, we build frameworks that allow them to contribute meaningfully while remaining part of the national fabric. The role of the NCMF, which is my office, a key institution is the NCMF. The National Commission on Muslim Filipinos, it supports 13 Muslim ethno-linguistic groups, oversees madrasa education, administers the Hajj and Awqaf. Through its work, Muslim Filipino identity is preserved while ensuring active participation in the national policy making space. Our office, the National Commission on Muslim Filipinos, is a critical institutional expression of the Philippine governments to the principle of unity without uniformity. The National Commission on Muslim Filipinos acts as the primary agency that manages the cultural, religious, and socio-economic affairs of the Muslim Filipino population, ensuring their distinct identity is preserved and developed while they remain integrated into the national frameworks. The NCMF's role, bridging diversity and national unity, the mandate of the National Commission on Muslim Filipinos, created under the Republic Act number 9997 on 2010, directly translates the philosophical ideal of harmony in diversity into a governmental function. One is to preserve diversity, that without uniformity aspect. The NCMF's mandate is explicitly to preserve and develop the culture, tradition, institutions, and well-being of Muslim Filipinos. This includes cultural autonomy. It actively supports the 13 ethno-linguistic Filipino Muslim tribes like the Maranaos, the Tausugs, and Magindanaos, recognizing the mosaic of Islamic practice and culture in the Philippines. The bridging leadership through the NCMF. The NCMF, the National Commission on Muslim Filipinos, is not just a cultural body. It is a bridge. It connects community traditions to national governance. Through it, the voice of Muslim Filipinos is elevated, their concerns are addressed, and their identity is recognized in policy, development, and representation. The political autonomy. This is the BARM, the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. Perhaps the most powerful institutional proof of harmony in diversity is BARM, the Bangsamoro Autonomous in Region Muslim Mindanao. It has a genuine self-governance in justice, education, and fiscal matters while remaining firmly within the Philippines. The region's autonomy affirms identity without fracturing the national whole. The legal foundation of BARM autonomy. This autonomy is legally grounded in the Bangsamoro Organic Law, the R8 11054. The Bangsamoro Organic Law explicitly affirms that BARM, the Bangsamoro Autonomous in Region Muslim Mindanao, is an integral, indivisible, and inseparable part of the Republic of the Philippines. It ensures the Bangsamoro government remains within the national constitutional framework. The parliamentary system and governance principles. In the Bangsamoro Organic Law, the BARM is structured as a parliamentary system, allowing for inclusive representation and democratic participation. The law also explicitly mandates the promotion of peace, social justice, and unity among its diverse people. There's also the indigenous people's rights in BARM. The Bangsamoro Organic Law recognizes the rights of non-Moro indigenous peoples within BARM. It guarantees that they can maintain their unique indigenous identity even as they share a political identity under the Bangsamoro governance. This is not tokenism, but constitutional recognition. There's also mandatory indigenous representation. Under the 2022 revised MIPA guidelines, there is mandatory representation for indigenous peoples and policy-making bodies and local councils. The constitutional and judicial validation. The Philippine Supreme Court recently reaffirmed the constitutionality of the Bangsamoro Organic Law. Importantly, the court clarified that Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao's autonomy does not mean a separate state. Its powers are internally focused and it remains part of the Republic of the Philippines. This legal validation strengthens the model of unity with diversity. The philosophical imperative is stewardship and trusts. The concept of Khilafah teaches us that humanity is entrusted to care for the earth and its peoples. Amana, the trust, demands that we not only protect life but actively steward diversity. This is not just governance, it is a sacred responsibility. The leadership paradigm, the harmonizer. The kind of leadership required is not domineering, rather a harmonizer, someone who aligns people around a shared mission while honoring their differences. This leader builds psychological safety, a space where disagreement is not only tolerated but welcome for growth. The organizational structure, the culture versus culture fit. In institutions, hiring for culture fit often means hiring people like us. That breeds complacency and fragility. Instead, we should look for culture, those who bring new ways of thinking, who challenge assumptions, and who make our institutions stronger. The governance application in practice. Let me be concrete. In governance, this approach means creating policy tables, where historically marginalized communities, religions, ethnic, indigenous are fully part of the process. It means using participatory dialogue, decentrally distributing power, and adapting governance to local realities. The diplomacy for the 21st century. Diplomacy today cannot be rigid or transactional. We must design a diplomacy that is adaptive, rooted in shared values and oriented toward collective well-being. Our increasingly interconnected world calls for bridge building, not barrier building. The Philippine story as a global contribution. The story of the Philippines, its centuries of governance, its survival through colonization, its modern peace institutions is not just a national narrative. It is a global contribution. We offer a tested framework that other societies can learn from. The strategic value of harmony. The strategic value of harmony. Harmony is not a soft ideal. It is a strategic asset. When societies respect difference, their institutions are more legitimate, their development more inclusive, and their unity more durable. That is how we build peace that lasts. The ASEAN relevance and the Ummah. To our ASEAN partners, the Philippine model aligns deeply with ASEAN's principle. We affirm sovereignty, celebrate plurality, and seek regional peace, not by erasing differences, but by institutionalizing respect for them. This is how we realize the ASEAN ideal of one vision, one identity, and one community. The UN relevance and the Ummah. To the United Nations community, our experience offers a living blueprint for SDG 18, building just, inclusive, and peaceful societies. It shows how rights-based governance can include marginalized communities and how peace can be the cornerstone of development. A call for global stewardship. Our charge is profound. We must practice khilafah, ethical leadership, recognizing that power is a trust. We must care for future generations, for our shared planet, and for all peoples. This is our shared stewardship. Addressing today's global challenges, we face serious global headwinds. Polarization that fractures societies, fragmentation that undermines identities, erosion of trust in institutions. But these challenges are not insurmountable if we recenter our approach on dignity, participation, and harmony. The Philippine Clarion Call. The Philippine experience is a clarion call. We do not build peace by forcing sameness. We build peace by recognizing, institutionalizing, and celebrating our differences. That is the path we have traveled and the path we offer to the world. Invitation to collective action. I invite all of us, from UN agencies, ASEAN governments, civil society, faith-based organizations to commit to building together. We can design governance systems that uphold every identity, foster trust, and build peace. Our diversity is our strength. Let us act on it. Our global responsibility. The journey from philosophy Gandhi to divine trust with responsibility, Khilafah wal Amana, to political reality, Philippines, to organizational strategy, cultural, confirms one central truth. Global peace and stability is not achieved by simplifying humanity, but by mastering the complexity of our differences. The test of our civilization is not whether we can eliminate our threads, but whether we can weave them into a magnificent, stronger tapestry. Harmony in diversity is the only path to a sustainable and beautiful future. In closing, and gratitude, in closing, I leave you with this: harmony in diversity is not just a principle, it is our legacy, and it must be our future. Thank you for your time, your commitment, and your openness. Our closing supplication for peace, unity, and human dignity. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ya Allah, the Lord of all peoples and all nations, source of mercy and source of peace, we turn to you in humility and hope. Grant us wisdom that heals divisions, courage that protects the vulnerable, and compassion that softens hardened hearts. O Allah, make us instruments of harmony among nations, bearers of justice in places of suffering, and guardians of the dignity you bestowed on every human soul. Bless our lands with safety and stability. Bless our leaders with sincerity and foresight. Bless our communities with unity that transcends differences, and bless our world with a peace that is just, enduring, and shared by all. Ya Allah, our ancestors endured waves of trial and transformation. Grant us the resilience to rise above fear, the strength to rebuild with hope, and the clarity to choose cooperation over conflict. Make our efforts a bridge between civilizations, a light for future generations, and a testimony that peace is not a dream, but a responsibility we must uphold. Ya Allah, grant us preparedness in this life, protection in moments of crisis, and a beautiful ending as we strive for a sustainable and resilient future. As we fight diseases, pursue longevity, and dream of a peaceful and healthier world, we remember that all things begin and end with Allah, the Lord, the Almighty. Rabbana, accept from us, guide us, protect us, and grant us peace, for you are the most merciful of those who show mercy. Allahumma amin. Wa billahi al-tawfiq wal hidayah. Wal akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.